Right. It's all right. Right now we are recording.
Cool.
All right. Well, welcome to our 5 questions, 5 answers series. Thank you so much for being a part of it, John.
Yes.
This week I'm speaking with Mayor John Wilson. We have decided to interview because of his position within the city and him being a good person that knows a lot about the city and what the media can help with in St. James. So, John, can you just tell us a bit about the city and what people might be unfamiliar with it?
Sure. We're close to 5,000 residents. I know the last study that we finished up with, kind of a visitor bureau type pamphlet and book that we're going to be sending out. We're getting closer and closer to a 50-50 mix of Hispanic and white residents. So we're large into multicultural, and we have a lot of different businesses that will show that downtown. So it's kind of a unique town that's seems to be growing at this time with lots of businesses that adding employees, and it seems like it's on an uptick and versus some of the other cities you might hear about.
Of course. And what has been the most impactful thing the city has done in 2023?
Well, I think we've gone a long way with different, with zoning. We opened up, like Great River Energy is, expanding out. Smithfield has expanded out. CFS had finished up their expansion, and then so business-wise, it seems like that's growing out pretty well. I know we've seen some differences in the multicultural fiestas that we've had. We started a new organization called One St. James that kind of allows all voices to be heard during those times. Another kind of more on the environment. The Climate Smart Committee has started in 2023, and kind of a younger group of residents are working toward a splash pad out by the pool. So it seems like it's kind of a pretty diverse group of people in town that are putting themselves out there to change things and continue to improve St. James as we move forward in 2024.
And speaking of 2024, what are some of the goals the city has for this coming year?
Yeah, so we did a land use study throughout kind of the summer, if I remember right, 2023, and so now we're kind of putting those goals kind of on paper and trying to figure out how we're going to divide and conquer, so to speak. I know some of the challenge that we've seen is with the fact that we are expanding. It seems like business wise, the housing issue is becoming a challenge for us, whether it's just simple rentals for families, that part, but also just simply having enough housing for purchase as well. So affordable purchasing, and then also having the rentals. So the economic development board has been looking at some new ideas about how to utilize some land that the EDA has to help kind of push the envelope a little bit on getting investors involved in our community. The infrastructure wise, we kind of try to see with aging, like aging stuff that's happening with whether it's a building or underneath the ground. We're trying to be a little bit proactive in making sure that we're able to do that. I know that economic development has been working on simple things like lunch and learns, where Brianna Sanders has been working with businesses to improve, how they market their business, trying to make sure that businesses have that ability to kind of get, so the community kind of understands what's going on with those businesses, but also try to work with expansion and also try to get new businesses in. So, and then probably our last kind of goal is to try to continue to, work together as a public safety. We've had issues with, just like across the state, we've had issues with, trying to staff the EMS, the emergency services, and the police department, fire department with volunteers. And so, trying to find new ways that we can get people involved with that, and then also find the funding to make sure that we can, keep those services for our residents in town.
Perfect. And now we're moving into the 5 questions I would answer series. And this is sort of an opportunity for us as a paper in the community to learn more about what is going on through the community and how the media can help it. So our first question is, what are the most pressing challenges facing our community at a local level right now?
Okay. Locally, as I mentioned, I think housing is one of the goals that is kind of top of my list a little bit. Even coming to St. James, I always felt it was difficult for kind of that middle income person to find rentals or to find even housing at that point. And I think the housing aspect is somewhat been improved, but for lower income, maybe not so much having that ability to purchase a home. But I think kind of that, we also need, because of our demographic of a lower income, group, that, we still continue to need low income housing. But at the same time, I think as we move closer and closer to a better, kind of way of life with our businesses, is that, we still need to have some type of middle income rentals. Maybe we can find ways to have retirees, kind of start to move away from the housing and into kind of nicer apartment type, condo type places in town. And that will obviously alleviate some of the housing issue for purchasing that we might need. So I think that's kind of our first challenge. And also, as I mentioned earlier about, we're getting closer and closer to 50-50 in our multicultural. I think that's also going to continue to be a challenge. I know there's lots of different groups in our town that are working together. The school works together on trying to make sure that, everybody is being heard of what's happening. But at the same time, there's going to be a lot of change. There's a cultural change between, how things work in different experiences that people have. And, that would be a challenge for us as people that have been residents of St. James for a long time. You got to be open to new ideas and new cultural ideas that you may not be aware of, and hope that, we can blend those together into kind of our unique town that we do have here. And then workforce development, I think, is a challenge to continue to improve, to allow, kind of that partnership between the school. I know in February we have, last year it started, and now the second year is in February. They're going to have a college and career fair at the school, to kind of get, kind of the students and the younger generation, trying to, hopefully get them to, invest their time in St. James. And, as business owners, begin to look at retirement, we don't want to lose those businesses just because they retired. Hopefully we can kind of turn those over to new people and new kids that, want to be involved in that. So I think that's kind of where we're trying to get to in the city for 2024 and kind of beyond, because obviously things take some time.
Of course. And I know you mentioned a lot of things that have been happening to address these challenges, but what can you say about what has been done to address the housing need and then the cultural demographics?
Okay. The housing need, I know that, the EDA, the Economic Development Authority group has met, we meet every month, and there's some plans in place to, the EDA has a couple places in town that they own. And so we're looking at, getting closer and closer to the time where we do look for bids on, new housing in town. So, hopefully that discussion continues, and that board, wants to continue that, and then obviously off to the council and beyond for the bids and stuff. So I kind of see that. I know that Brianna Sanders and I have met with local investors as well to try to get them to see, where their level of, because I know they've done some things in Mankato and other places, but what level of interest do they have in investing their money and time into St. James, and and what, as a city, what maybe that we research on our end, kind of the infancy stage of research, and find out what we can do to help them as well. Multicultural, I think, the Convivencia and the United Cultures, along with One St. James, I think we've kind of started to work more and more together and kind of get that information out to different people. I know that this next fall in September, we'll have the multicultural fiesta that will be a part of our town. So, there's things that are moving, different groups, organizations that are meeting currently to make those things happen as well.
Perfect. And segueing into our second round of questions, considering the evolving media landscape, what role do you see local papers such as Cherry Media, St. James Plain Dealer, and sort of like Madelia Times Messenger play in the community for the next 5 years from now?
I honestly, when you look at as a professional that I have as a teacher, we talk a lot about the news media and how slanted and opinionated it is. It's nice to have a source, to have just the factual information for people. And I think, that small town newspaper seems to be things that people want to get rid of, but at the same time, it's something that is absolutely 100% needed for towns like us in this county, that it enables us to have a resource to, know what's going on in our community, St. James or whatever town in the county. And, but it also gives, an opportunity for, people that may not be, connected to whatever school or the government or something like that, to at least have that part. And also you look at, there's a lot of people that may not live in St. James or Madelia or anything anymore, that still want to know what's happening in their hometown. And the only way they can get that is through the local paper.
And anticipating for changes in media consumption, obviously with a lot of newspapers being more so older generations that read them, how do you think or anticipate media consumption affecting the community engagement?
Yeah, the print of the newspaper seems to be not as prominent as we used to have. But I think kids themselves, I still think that students that I have use their phones and use different social medias, that I think there's their avenue for that. This is a great idea to allow this to be open to for people to use different medias, apps, and things that they might have on their phones or computers and stuff to get that local news. So and I think also in today's world, whether subscriptions or the ways of streaming and things like that, you got to be able to have that kind of that low pricing or free kind of news that allows all people to have that opportunity to see what's going on in the towns.
Yeah, and you mentioned students using all social medias. With these emerging trends, do you think local newspapers should embrace it?
Yeah, I think it'd be a good idea. I don't know how much of the subscriptions by paper are going, but I know that personally I use, I look at the different, online and stuff. I'm originally from Fairmont, so it's now gone to I have to do an online subscription to get it. So a lot of news I don't get much anymore. So, but that I think that's kind of that's the nature of the beast of what's happening. I think we got to be able to be open to different ways, just like in the city and the school, different ways to get that information out, just other than a simple piece of paper that people are going to read that are used to. But I think this newer generation of all the different technologies, it's a lot easier to get information to them by using those different avenues of apps and such.
Course. And looking at the city now, you guys have done a lot of changes through e-newsletters and whatnot, but what ways do you anticipate the city changing to meet these changing times?
Yeah, they since I've allowed kind of that like you said, the newsletter. Tammy Stevens is kind of working those different parts. Just trying to keep up on what's happening with the new trends of how people are going to look at it. Whether it's a different app that opens up things to people. Like for as an example, that's as a football coach that I have. I used to do paper and give kids a paper to go home with. Now it's just simple app and making sure to take the time for the app. So just being as open to the new technologies of whatever avenue. I know that surveys usually typically go out, and then information's that the city staff can take in phone calls and such to to find out what avenue of social media or to get the information to that. But in the end, print source is always the way for the city to make sure that the ordinances and such are online. But I know that they also look at different apps and websites and as we move forward and making sure everybody knows what's going on.
Of course. Speaking of how papers and everything correlate and play into promoting civic engagement and participation, what role do you feel the newspaper should play in promoting civic participation and community involvement?
Yeah, I think making sure that the residents know what events, activities, whether it's just the city and the county, the viewership of the area to kind of know. Sometimes, even, maybe not just the local residents, but people that, maybe like, hey, I'm coming into town to, see parents or grandparents of the past, that still live here, and maybe they could take in a basketball game or something like that. That's there. In sporting events, school activities, being able to kind of make sure that people can connect still to the community that was theirs in the past. I think that's the best way to do that. I know obviously different organizations can do that, but always people seem to always kind of congregate back to that local newspaper to have that opportunity to see what's going on.
And with you being a teacher now, Mayor of St. James, why do you think civic participation and community involvement are important to a town like St. James?
It's the only way we survive. If we're only seeing a very select small number of people being involved, and it's we're not getting the full voice of what's happening. And I think to me that's probably the most important thing, is that everybody should have a voice in what's happening. Obviously, some people don't want to be involved, which is fine, but at the same time, we want to be able to be open enough to have everybody have that opportunity to see what's happening and see what's maybe they have the better idea. For years of teaching, it's always been you could always focus on 2 or 3 students in your classroom, but when you're able to get all 20 to 25 kids that you have in your class, be open enough to give you ideas. A lot of times the students that rarely talk usually have the best ideas. So I think that's kind of what, as mayor, I've always thought about and remembered that, you always want to have that opportunity for everybody to be heard and, and be engaged in what's happening. And because honestly, that's truly the best part to a smaller community too, is that you have that opportunity to be a little bit smaller and get everybody involved.
And one great thing that has come forth since you've been mayor has been the One St. James, which is a great spot to sort of start if someone's not used to civic engagement, because there's so many different avenues that they can go down with. And do you feel like that is sort of like a successful area for someone to do engagement?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's, it's a great way to be, it's honestly just a discussion of what's happening is kind of our goal, to allow different organizations to make sure that everybody understands, hey, I need, I need 5-10 volunteers for this. And, in the past, they may not even have known about it at all. So, and it's, it's a wide open for everybody to attend. And, it's not just a government meeting. It's, it's kind of like just a simple luncheon that people show up. And, it's obviously then you get on kind of the email list and get that invitation, but it seems like the email list continues to grow each and every month. And, there's, 25, 30 people that do show up to the meetings and hear what's happening. And, we're open to, hearing what else is going on. I know in the past, they weren't a part of the agenda, like food shelf information and coat situations, winter coat situations, and lots of things that are coming up that people may not have known about. But really, the simple goal is to allow people to have that avenue to understand what's happening in town, and maybe again get people interested in your business or organization.
Yeah, and with so much talked about the One St. James, as you mentioned, how do you think the paper could effectively help encourage people to participate in either One St. James or any part of civic engagement?
Yeah, I think the paper could continue to showcase different businesses, residents, and give them different opportunities, I guess, to see what other people are thinking. Whether it's just a business showcase or a resident showcase, or continue to do just simple articles in sports and activities in the school. All of those give opportunities for people to connect with the community. That way, if you see if you go to the local grocery store, the gas station or something, and you run into somebody, then you probably know what they're doing. If you know who the basketball player that scored 20 points the other night, and all of a sudden you run into them at the grocery store that they're working at, you can say, hey, great game or something, and have that that connection that you may not have known that person before, but seen it in the paper and seen it online, and have that that kind of the new friendship, so to speak, to the community.
Yeah, and then speaking of events and like what people have done in the community, what community events and activities do you believe the paper should cover to better connect with St. James residents?
It's as you continue to go, as we continue to grow as a community, I think that to make sure that all groups are being in the paper, I guess, or have articles about, and I think that we're in a community that we don't need to just focus on one certain group, whether it's the Eagles group or the VFW Elite. Make sure that all businesses and people have that opportunity to to talk, and maybe in, different languages for the paper and online would help that as well. So that way, people feel comfortable in their own language and their own culture as we move forward as well. And, that's kind of, again, it goes back to, embracing the uniqueness of our town. You may not be comfortable with, seeing things in Spanish but at the same time, if you only can speak Spanish, you're not real comfortable seeing everything in English either. So, it's, kind of just a way that we have in our town is, be open enough to allow other groups and other situations that may not have been in the press in the past.
Of course, and it's always nice to hear what coverage could be tailored, especially when you're speaking of people that might not be comfortable with just English language.
Yeah.
So how basically you covered all the follow-up questions I had for that question. Great job. So now, considering the economic landscape of St. James, how can the paper support local businesses and contribute to the economic growth of the community?
As I mentioned, I think the showcase, of the different businesses, allow residents to kind of know what the business is all about. A lot of times we may, as humans, we may not be comfortable doing that first initial. I'm like, you're not just going to walk into a store and maybe not know what to expect. You might not be comfortable being able to do that. And I think the paper could be an avenue that we can look at and say, hey, I read an article about, this is what they offer, and hey, this is actually what I'm looking for. I don't need to go to another town to pick something like that up. And but we didn't know that before and may not have felt comfortable enough going in there. Kind of that, again, back to that cultural difference. At the same time, if you're not comfortable going into a Spanish speaking area, you may not go there. But at the same time, if you have that, read an article and like, hey, they're welcoming, they're all that kind of stuff that we do, different sides of cultural, then maybe we get more and more people into the businesses that we have. And at the same time, what are things that people are looking for? Maybe there's different, if you're talking to residents, in paper that may give different ideas that maybe council can pick up or a county commissioner can pick up, and that they've never thought about before. And I think that's also an improvement to how we can look for the future of our area.
Yeah. And are there any specific challenges that maybe Brianna at the EDA has brought up that local businesses are facing that possibly could be helped if the paper addresses it?
I think just the familiarity of what they offer. I know she's marketing different things, giving them information about online, ways to do things online or different ways to market their business. Just simple items, maybe, but also at the same time, there's a lot of I know that she's mentioned a lot of like grants that we have for to help, kind of the aesthetics of the business itself, what's on the outside. We might have grants and stuff through the city that might help them too. But for the most part, I think it's just about marketing what they have, and making sure that people are comfortable probably going into their storefronts and being a part of their stores.
Of course. Obviously supporting local businesses is a great thing to do in a small town like St. James. How could the paper encourage? I know you spoke a lot about just letting know what they offer, but I know what we do when the city does it, business spotlight each month. We do that. Could there be anything that could be added to that to hopefully encourage people to shop locally?
Just ideas that could be maybe showcase not only the business, but like the background of the owners, background of the workers that are there. Just to kind of maybe give that part, maybe some history of what where people are at with the different businesses that maybe even just the building itself. What is maybe the history of the building before that business that happened. So yeah, I think just being able to get that information out, I think is going to help all of our businesses in town.
Perfect. Well, that is the end of all of our 5 questions, 5 answers. Thank you so much for being a part of it and being the first one.
Yeah.
But
Yep.
Steve, what questions do you think we could ask the community in an upcoming survey that your organization or the city would like to know the answer to?
Oh, that's a good question. Probably it's kind of a completely open-ended thing, but I always just ask my students what would they like to see as a change. If they're number one, what would be their number one business or new thing in town that they would like to see?
Perfect. That's great, especially with all the talk we did about business.
Yeah, is usually how I do that. So, like, what improvements that we like to see. In fact, just in school today, with my 9th graders, I asked what they would improve the school, how they'd improve the school. So there's a quite big list of things that they came up with. So.
Well, good. Well, once again, thank you so much. And that'll be it for this week's edition of 5 Answers, 5 Questions.
You bet. Thank you very much for having me.
Well, you have a good rest of your day, John. Thank you.
Thank you.